Digital romance TV.
Hey folks, how are you? It's Michael Fiore and Nora Blake, and today we're talking about depressing topics, like 3 signs that she'll leave you after you marry her.
She's got her bags packed?
She's got her bags packed, quite literally. The question is actually a little weird to me, honestly, because I'm assuming this almost comes from a context of like, okay, she's going to leave, you're not yet married, but you're thinking she's going to leave you after you do. And I think it's not so much about leaving you as much as she's going to, I mean, I would almost see it as much as like the person you think you're marrying is going to leave you, right? Like you'll probably still be quote unquote married, but you won't be in the relationship that you want to be in.
So what do you think those signs are?
Well, let's see if we can come up with 3, but to me it's largely, is the wedding insanely important to her? Is like the details and the pageantry of the wedding insanely important to her? Is it something where it's like, this needs to be the most perfect day ever?
Yep.
Because again, I said this in a previous video, but there was a stat I saw recently that shows that couples who spend less than $5,000 on their wedding are way less likely to get divorced than couples who spend 25 grand, 30 grand, et cetera, right? And
it's not a guarantee, though, folks.
No, it's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee in any way.
I can vouch for that.
But psychologically, what it is, I think what that means is that those couples are more focused on themselves as a couple than they are on the pageantry and on the idea of marriage. And there's a lot of women who are very, very, very into the idea of marriage.
Right, but they don't know what that means.
No.
I mean, and in our day and age, when you're usually sleeping with somebody before you marry them, probably living with somebody before you marry them, it's really, there isn't that much of a change.
Or there shouldn't be, in a weird way.
Right.
There oftentimes is.
But we put this giant, big, huge mile marker, like this giant thing of this life-changing event that a wedding is supposed to be, when you come back from a honeymoon or whatever it is you do to celebrate after the wedding, and then you're back to the same, pretty much the same day-to-day that you were prior to that.
Yeah, or you should be.
Right.
You should be.
But that's a huge letdown, I think, for a lot of people.
Because what people, they almost feel like it's like a superhero transformation.
Sure,
thing, right?
like you're supposed to be
I just got bit by the radioactive marriage spider, so shouldn't I have superpowers
now? We're going to turn into super married
people. Super married spider couple.
Right.
And that doesn't happen, and there's a big letdown because women are told from a very young age that like this is the most important day of your life, and it's the beginning of this new life, and everything's different after you get married, and it becomes kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point, right? I would also say that going along with that, there's that. Are you feeling that she's disappointed in you a lot in the lead up to the wedding? I know several people, myself included, who, as soon as we got engaged, it seemed like you suddenly weren't good enough anymore. Because as a boyfriend, you're fine, but as a fiance and therefore a husband, you're not fine anymore because you're not fitting into this ideal of what this woman would have. And if you're with a woman who has like this, really seems to have this ideal vision of what a husband is supposed to be, that you can't live up to, then she's going to end up leaving in one way or another by the time you get married. And beyond that, a third one, I mean, just does she seem to like you in a weird sort of way? Does she celebrate you? Actually, that's more important. So this woman is part of it, but really it's the like, do you find that she is still taking her time out of her day to tell you what's good about you? Do you feel praised? Do you feel appreciated? We all have flaws. In a previous video, we talked about the idea of like, you say I love you not when you first feel love, but when you actually realize somebody has flaws and you love them anyway.
Right.
Right? And if somebody can still appreciate you for your flaws and love you for your flaws in the lead up to the marriage and everything else, then you'll probably be okay. But if that falls off, if all you're getting from somebody is that feeling of just like, man, you're just not good enough anymore, then you're probably, whether she actually ends the marriage and leaves you or not, you're headed for something where you're both miserable.
Right.
At that point, right? Because she's not going to be able to be the perfect wife she thinks she's supposed to be, and you're not going to be able to, or even want to be, the perfect husband she wants you to be.
Yep.
So it sucks, and I really feel like women fall victim to these expectations more than men do. A lot of men, when we get into marriages, we kind of feel like, well, I like this person, I like the way things are, I want more of how things are.
Right. And women are like, I'm going to have this thing, and then everything's going to be different.
Yes. And a lot of men,
Better.
and then when that happens and the woman wants everything to be different, the guy's like, but I liked how things were. Why did I? And I was out in the bar with some friends, including this guy from West Africa who was an Uber driver for a friend of mine. And it's, 3 white guys and this guy from West Africa talking about women and from totally different parts of the world and everything else. And we're all complaining about the same thing, right? And it was all coming down to these expectations and this idea of the power dynamics that go on there. So hopefully that answered your question. If it didn't, then, well, whatever. And if you have comments, leave them below.
Tell us about it down below.
Tell us about how, whatever. And then go over to digitalromance.tv for more. Bye-bye.
If you've got a cell phone in your pocket or purse right now, then you've got everything you need to create incredible romance and passion with the man or woman in your life at the push of a button. Go to digitalromance.tv/TRB to see Michael Fiore make an entire audience of women in The Rachel Ray Show swoon and learn how to use tiny little text messages to have the relationship of your dreams.